You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
NYT indicts Trump's expanding wave of policy failures based on an article by Alex Henderson. Trump's view was always a scam. The promise was a distraction. The source article starts from a familiar lie, that Trump was the candidate of real issues while Democrats were busy policing language. That line helped him win, because it offered voters a simple enemy and a fake contrast. 18 months into his second presidency, the record is different. Job losses, tariffs, rising debt, a war with Iran, and broad administrative incompetence. The governing project was never competence. It was grievance dressed up as common sense. Power sat with Trump. The only actor in this story with actual institutional power is Trump. He made the decisions. He chose the tariffs. He embraced the war. He installed the culture of whim, conspiracy, and refusal. The article's quoted political scientists describe the result accurately enough. A presidency run through personal instinct, not governance. That matters because the damage is not accidental drift. It is the product of a man who treats the state like a weapon and a stage prop at the same time. The misdirection worked because it was useful. Trump's 2024 line about being for you was political fraud with a smile on its face. It redirected frustration away from the people actually engineering harm and toward Democrats as cultural nuisances. That framing was never about cost of living or material relief. It was about laundering authoritarian politics through resentment. The article is strongest when it shows that the message worked electorally, even though the substance was empty. Voters were sold a fantasy of practicality by a movement that runs on revenge. Failure by design. The source text usefully distinguishes between mismanagement, design, and greed, and that is the right frame. This is not just incompetence. Some of the failure is structural and deliberate. Tariffs are not a misunderstood accident when the president ignores expert advice. Aggressive immigration enforcement is not a policy glitch when cruelty is part of the appeal. The shredding of the safety net to finance tax cuts is not confusion. It is class warfare with patriotic branding. The Republican Party brought this on. The article notes Trump's grip on the Republican base, and that is the larger story the rest of the coverage keeps trying to soften. This is not a rogue president drifting away from a normal party. The party built itself around him because he could translate authoritarian appetite into electoral loyalty. Republicans did not merely tolerate the wreckage, they made it politically durable. They traded institutional responsibility for a permission structure in which harm becomes identity. What this story really shows, the deeper pattern is simple. Modern authoritarian politics does not need to prove it can govern well. It only needs to keep supporters convinced that cruelty is strength and failure is someone else's fault. Trump's for you rhetoric was never an economic program. It was a mechanism for shifting blame downward while power moved upward. The Democratic response cannot be to chase his language games or pretend the threat is only rhetorical. The point is the machinery behind the rhetoric. A movement that feeds on scapegoating, uses state power badly on purpose, and expects the public to mistake damage for authenticity. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article. With the automated voice of Labrits, our thanks for listening.